transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity, stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m., with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience. Welcome to Emerge and Empower Podcast TV, a platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity, stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m., with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.
When my mom, that's the age that I knew or had understanding of my surroundings of what was going on, and my mom therefore was the children. And that's when I realized I didn't have my father. You don't know what you don't have until you realize what is in front of you isn't yours. And we were treated literally like dead children, you understand? But I thank God for the book and the journey. If you haven't read book one, you have to read book one for book two to make sense, because it's a flow and it's a sequence, and there will be a book three thereafter. I was trying to summarize it all and put it in the second book, but it didn't make sense. The book that's called The Shift basically talks about once I now got married, have a life, what I still went through. Alright, it was not a Cinderella story, it was not a Prince Charming story. It was a cycle that kept going, and I had to wake up from it. So I live to tell the story because I couldn't be like the women that are on the side of the road. You see people that are out there prostituting or doing whatever. You don't know their story. No little girl got up and just said, okay, I want to be a prostitute. I want to just be on the street. I want to sell drugs. Nobody wakes up one day to connect it. It is the experiences that people have that causes certain things to end up happening. So as a Christian, first of all, you must be forgiving to people. So something happened. Sometimes I'm watching a lot of African movie, the young lady, that was her only way to be able to help her family. That was the route that she could take. Alright? So these journeys are hard. I was suicidal until I was 28 years old. And that's when I forgive myself. Everybody here, you have to want to live. If you are sick, you have to want to be well. But that's basically the journey. I'm growing. Now I turn my feet into purpose. I created a new one. I want to come in, get together, an excuse to go to brunch, an excuse to do lunch, an excuse to do dinner. That's my journey. So I thank each and every one of you for believing, for coming out here, to be here. I'm part of this society. So I thank you too, because everybody responded to my promotion for the ebook that made us bestseller on Amazon. My book was next to TJ's book. So even if it was momentarily, I made it there. Amen. Even was for a moment, I made it there, and God can and will continue to do the rest. We did it. Amen. Amen. We did it. We are back here on the set of Emerge and Empower. And as you know, we come on every week where we have individuals that come on and share their emergent story. And the stories have been relatable. A lot have found it to be impactful and also brought change into their own lives and everyday activity on how to live and how to go about. There have been many testimonies from individuals who have watched it and decided, you know what, I too have a story to tell. well. I like when you go back and you've watched it and you said, I saw it. I love the atmosphere. I love the warmth. And I feel free to come on and share my story without being judged, without being criticized. And it is a great platform for you to come on here and a place for your voice. So on today is like no other story that we had before because everyone is unique. It might be similar, but to each person is individual. Healing also takes time. For one person, it might be 3 years. For another person, it's been a year's journey. For some, it's been a lifetime. It's been half of their life just trying to get a hold of their lives. So on today, I have a special guest, none other than Kath, that will be coming on to be sharing her story and her emergence. And she is across the world. That's to show you how the reach is. We are reaching and making an impact worldwide. Today we have Kath Essing. She is a courageous advocate for women who have faced silence in their lives, particularly those affected by trial or trauma. Her journey, marked by resilience and transformative power of sharing one's truth, is a testament to her credibility and connection with the audience. Kate reveals that true strength lies in embracing one's authentic self. After decades of grappling with the hidden scars of child abuse, she confronted with her greatest fear was sharing her story. Her memoir, The Courage to Speak Your Truth, invite readers into her intimate world, unveiling the complexities of her experiences, the emotional toll of survival, and empowering journey of recovery. While Kate recognizes that seeking justice isn't always straightforward, her journey extends beyond that pursuit. It's about breaking the silence that has long suffocated her and countless other women. Through her writing, Kate seeks to uplift women and spark conversations that reshape narratives around trauma. She believes that one can foster healing and connection by courageously dismantling the cycles of silence and pain. Silence and pain. So, everyone, let us welcome Kate to the set. Kate, welcome to
Hi,
Courage and Empower on today. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I am well, and I want people to be aware the time zone difference is a real it's real. So she's across the world halfway. We're in the evening, and she is pretty much in the mid-morning part of her day. And we truly thank you for coming here and gracing this platform with your story on today, which shows you are indeed a woman of resilience. And I applaud you on today because it took a lot to be here on this platform to come and share your story. Go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience. Let them know where you're connected from and let your friends and family know that you're an Emerge and Empower today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm Kath Essing, and I'm from the bottom of Australia at the beginning of the Great Ocean Road at Bells Beach. And I can hear my puppy and my son getting ready for school in the background. So it's very early here. And as you said, I'm an author and a speaker and an educator. And I'm really grateful to be here to share my story and hope that that helps bridge the gap for somebody else's story to be heard.
Thank you so much. Indeed, that is the whole purpose of Emerge and Empower is for individuals to come on and share their story to indeed bridge the gap, to bring hope to the hopeless, okay? To motivate someone who's feeling like, you know what, I don't think I can get out of this. But when you hear the individual stories, you find that, first of all, you're not alone in what you're going through. So don't put yourself in a box. Don't just move away or cower away or shy away or whatever it is you're doing right now, I want you to understand you're not the only one that is experiencing this, and this is happening all around the world. We're going worldwide. It is happening on your block. It is happening to a friend that you know who probably don't know what you're going through, and they too are going through, because people learn. We live in a time where we love to put on fronts, right? Appearances, as though things are well, but they are not, because there's a lot of inner healing that needs to take place. So at this time, Kate, we would like for you to just go right into your story, Kath. I'm from the Bahamas. I say Kate, Kath. I'm sorry about that. Let's have
That's
Kath come
okay.
on in here and just let's get right into your story, okay? Let's get into where did you realize it was time for a change, and you will take us back through your personal story.
Well, I was in my early 20s and I remembered childhood sexual abuse by a family member. And it took another 10 years really to calibrate the story and to make sense of it. And so it was the beginning of COVID here in Australia, and I decided that enough was enough. And that was the time to go to police and talk about what had happened to me. So I had sat in that story for a long time in silence, not because I didn't feel I had people to tell, but I just wanted to protect those around me from the pain that I was feeling and the shame that I was feeling. So
Yes.
for a long time, I held on to that, and then it was time to be honest, and what I thought was protecting other people was really creating a wall between us. So once I was able to kind of share my internal world honestly and with courage to others, then I was able to really connect in a way that I hadn't been able to before.
Wow, wow, that's tremendous. So take us to your journey.
So I was 5 years old and was abused for the first time. It was my birthday party, and I blocked that memory out instantly. Um, and two other incidents happened, one when I was 8 and one when I was 11. And it wasn't until I was in my early 20s that depression set in. And I was a happy kid, I was an athlete, I had a lot of friends. There
Mhm.
weren't any signs that anything untoward had occurred. And when I was in my 20s, I couldn't make sense of the feeling that I had in my body. So it was my body kind of knocking. My mind had blocked it out entirely.
Mhm.
And once the feelings started to get too much, then I sought help. And once I remembered, I then had to make sense of what that meant for this happy identity that I'd created and
Right.
this happy go lucky person. It wasn't until I started then exploring my own healing that I understood how prevalent it was. And I think that that's the shame of it, is that 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys worldwide will be impacted by this issue before the age of 18. And
Wow.
we're not talking about it. And we're not talking about the fact that 90% of us know our perpetrator
Yeah.
and 50% of us are related to our perpetrator.
Yes. Yes. Wow. 5 years old. Your
Hmm.
birthday, which is supposed to be a special day. Of course, we don't forget special birthdays, whether we had a celebration or not. If something has happened around your birthday, definitely it is a memory that you cannot erase, even if you want to subconsciously lock it away and all of that. Triggers happen, right? So you're 5 years old when this first happened to you, which is supposed to be a time of joy, a time to let a little girl just be a princess, continue dreaming. And now your world has been shifted. Your world just became a nightmare when it should be a celebration. Wow.
Yeah, and I had blocked it entirely. So there were feelings that came up every year around my birthday that I couldn't make sense of. And, I love parties, I love celebrating, and I love people and getting together. So I always had this little part of me that I was fighting against. And I guess that there was a part of me that was looking for danger. And so then for a long time, I had to unmap what feeling happy and loved and connected really meant, because I was always looking for fear alongside it, because that's the way my brain had been mapped to experience it.
Wow. 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 And then, so the next incident, you said you were 7 or 8.
I was 8 years old, the same perpetrator, and again, it was at a family function, and then again at 11. And look, beyond the details of what happened to me, I think the part of the story that I really want people to understand is that this happened right under my parents' nose. That my mum and dad were beautiful people. My
Wow.
family was extended family was a great, and this is what happens over and over again: is that the perpetrators prey on the shame of the incidents
Yes.
so that silence manifests itself. And I didn't have language to make sense of what was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I shelved it until I was an adult and I could find the language and I could
Right.
find the strength to heal and to talk about what had happened. But
Mm-hmm.
as I said, even then, it took another 23 years to go to police. And
Wow.
often people ask me why. And I'm I believe it wasn't because I wasn't believed. It wasn't because I didn't think that I would get support. It was because I wanted to protect people around me. I wanted
Mhm.
to save them from feeling the same amount of hurt that I was experiencing.
Right. Right. That's what tends to happen when you're a child. You feel like not speaking is saving or trying to keep family friends together. You don't want to be the reason why, the friendship or anything changes. So therefore you feel like, what, let me be the person to not say anything. But that's what the innocent mind is thinking. But in reality, it's continuing and opening room for the perpetrator to continue the abuse, okay? Because once it happened once, now they feel like you didn't say anything before, so I can come back. I can bring this again and again. And sometimes the perpetrator end up living in the home as well, which is even more dangerous because they're there night and day. They totally have your parents' trust. Okay, go away. I'm going out. So and so's with you. You can babysit. You can do this. You can do that. So the silence is actually very dangerous because not only is it dangerous for the child, but it's also dangerous for other children, even family members.
You dropped off.
Okay, let's try this again. Ty called me, girls, and interrupted my recording.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's see if I could come back in. Oh my God, I don't even remember what I said. I usually say, family, don't call, I'm recording, but today I totally forgot. That's why I like recordings, is I could go back and I can, cut it.
Edit.
All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, so we're gonna continue as far as the child and bringing people into the home and the damage that it caused with the silence cost. The silence costs a lot of damage, right? Not only for the child, but for family members. But so a lot of times they can even hurt the whole entire family. So while children are thinking that they're protecting, there's a lot of danger for their lives and also that of your family. Because if someone could do that to your child, they can harm you as well. You understand? So we're going to get right into it. So finally, what gave you the courage to speak your truth after so many years of silence?
Becoming a mother myself, and I realized that I wanted to model to my kids what courage looked like, and that is different for everybody. I certainly don't advocate that the path that I've taken is the path for everybody. I believe healing is a very private journey, and however one feels, that sense of wholeness is completely original to that individual. For me, because I was speaking publicly already about empowerment and about being one's true self, I felt like there was always this part of me that was a little bit inauthentic. I hadn't quite done the thing that I was teaching other people to do. So once I looked at my children and thought, I need to show them how they can too be in control of their own narrative. And so that was a turning point for me. And I went to police, and look, it's very complex with historical child abuse cases.
Yeah.
And I was told that the statistics were very much against me, that it would be very unusual and challenging to get a conviction. But I still knew that this was the only path for me. I got
Right.
to confront my abuser. I got to share my whole story with friends and family. And I learned a lot along the way, which is why I wrote the book, because I thought if I can minimize the loneliness other people are feeling in this
Right.
journey, then it's been worth it.
Wow, wow, wow. So in writing The Courage to Speak Your Truth, what did you discover about yourself?
I discovered that I'm a very beautiful writer. It was like the words, you're a spiritual woman. It was like I channeled the words straight from God. It was like just they came through me in a way that I didn't know I could articulate. So I feel very grateful for the fact that it's come here through a higher power, I believe, and it's come for the audience, not for me. So I've been asked if this was a healing process, and absolutely it was. But I'd done my healing before I wrote it. So it wasn't about my healing. It was about ensuring that there was an opportunity for learning, because we all learn through each other's stories.
Right.
And I think that, and there's allies of survivors that don't understand this. So I think I've written it for those people, for the supporters of individuals who have endured this kind of abuse, so they can start to understand what their loved ones are going through.
Right, right. It is so true. And I'm glad you said that, because in order to write your story, you definitely have to be healed to want to sit there and write it. It takes time. For me, my abuse, I was 6 years old, right? By 9, I knew I wanted to write my story, but it was meant to be a memoir to my children after I'm gone. I felt so ashamed as a kid growing up, even as a teenager. I said I would tell my truth, even though parents knew about it, but the first incident, but didn't do anything about it. So I decided to be a memoir to my children. I was still ashamed. I was still doing all of that, but I knew I wanted to write. I wanted to leave it as a legacy, but I didn't write it until pretty much 35 years later, you know. But in order to do that, you have to confront your truth. You have to confront your past. So as you were journeying through this, as you went to tell your truth, a lot of this reality came in. You went through, I'm sure, all of these emotions in order to express your truth in this story. What was that like for you as you journeyed through?
Liberating and terrifying. And so I think, a
Yes.
combination of everything. Like some days I felt strong, some days I felt completely inadequate. And it was a bit like healing through an injury. And, it's one step forward, three steps back. And I felt like there were times, when you clean out your wardrobe and all your clothes are on the bed and they're a
Right.
mess and you're putting them back one by one. And you
Hmm.
think, why did I start this process? Like, room's a mess. Why didn't I just leave it all in the cupboard, all shoved in like it was working for me? And so
Yes.
that's how I felt at times. I wondered why I'd started it. And now I'm very grateful that my children know my story, and they know that they can talk to me about anything that they feel, and that sometimes there's people in their lives that'll make them uncomfortable, and they have to trust that instinct.
So as you can see, it's called When Silence Breaks and Healing Begin, right? So for Kate and anyone that is watching, we need to come from hiding, those lies and all of that, and really face the truth, the good old ugly truth, right? But the Bible tells us, that the truth will set you free. It might be liberating for you, but someone else has got to deal with that, deal with what it was that they did. They have to pay for their sins, because the Bible tells us the wages of sin is death. So you kill by the sword, you die by the sword, because that's, we understand that as karma. We understand that as in Ecclesiastes that says what goes around comes around. So that life will bring that full circle back. And if it's not happening to that person, then unfortunately their children, someone in their bloodline, will deal with this, right? So that's why it's important for us to talk about it. I'm glad that you said that your children are aware of it and they know, because this is key for them in their future, to be aware. Of course, why is mom even being cautious? Why does mom react the way that she reacts? Because they understand that you had a past history and you're doing it from a place of love and also protection. You understand? So I'm glad that you mentioned the fact that your children are aware. And how old were your children when you brought this? Did you brought it about before you wrote the book or once you wrote the book?
With both my children when they were 8, I don't know why I felt like that was the age that was appropriate to talk to. I spoke to both of them before that time about what had happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
and they both understood that throughout the investigation what was happening. They knew the day that I was confronting my abuser. So I was very open because I didn't want them to construct a narrative about any of my experiences being their fault
Right.
or any of my moods impacting them. So I was also
Mhm.
always very honest about today's a hard day for me because, and because I think once kids are given the information, it's often the stories they construct that are more damaging than the truth. So
Yeah.
and I wanted to model that hard things can happen, but we can still come out with strength and grace. And as long as we, confront things and we're honest and we lean in to get support, as opposed to lean out. And I think most of the issues happen with mental health when individuals isolate themselves. And I want to do everything I can to teach my children that leaning in is where the power is.
Right, leaning in, power. So we're gonna come right back and let's go back to a commercial break at this time. We'll be right back.
Remember when coffee was just coffee? A routine sip, part of the 2 billion cups consumed daily, enough to fill an Olympic swimming pool every 3 minutes. Same old flavor, same old routine. For centuries, 75% of coffee drinkers have settled for mediocrity, masking the taste with sugar, syrups, and overpriced add-ons. But what if coffee didn't just promise to be amazing? What if it actually was? Introducing Alive Coffee, the first coffee that tastes as good as it makes you feel. Meet the coffee that thinks beyond the cup. Bold, smooth, alive. Made from expertly roasted top-quality beans, Alive Coffee is smooth, rich, and shockingly delicious. Stop drinking May, start drinking Alive. The coffee that delivers just like the 90% who won't start their day without it. Alive Coffee. Wake up, take over. Feel alive.
So, Kath, we're gonna go back here to how did you handle the emotional weight of telling your story and the justice that you probably didn't think you will get? What was that like for you?
Well, I guess I had to be very clear on my own objectives because I knew that gaining justice was going to be very slim. So I I focused on what made me happy, and that was my relationships with my family and friends. That there's a saying, the Buddha says that anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And
Mm,
I think for me, it was very much about I need to ensure that I'm not drinking any more poison, that my loved ones who are supporting me aren't punished by this
yeah.
and impacted by this any more than they need to be. And so that's what the investigation did. It placed the blame where it was deserved to be placed. And I was able to let it go so that there was freedom in my day and in my heart and in my mind.
Now, did you in the end get the justice that you felt you needed? Was it fair? How did that outcome?
No, there wasn't enough to proceed to trial, and only 10. I think the detective at the beginning said to me that only 23% of sexual assault survivors come forward,
Hmm.
and of those 23%, only 10% will proceed to a trial. And because it had been, you know, 40 odd years since my incident had occurred. There just wasn't any physical evidence. And there was a witness that wasn't willing to make a statement. And I think that's, a common story. And so that's why I want to talk about it, because if I had have listened to that detective initially, I wouldn't have gone through with it. Then I'd probably still be trapped with my own story.
Right.
And it gave me an opportunity to really share it in a way that I'd never done so before. And that was the healing element.
That is indeed important, because you were able to share it. It was public, and the person, the perpetrator, uh, even though they didn't have enough evidence, but they had to realize that this truth was told. It is no
Yeah.
longer a secret. You understand? So a lot of people are watching this person, and now there is a lot of parents or even family members who are no longer trust to have this person around. So they did lose a lot of those connections by you coming out, whether they had enough evidence or not, because now you're at peace. Your story has been told, all right, and now everyone is aware. You understand? It's aware, and everyone has full knowledge and understanding of what transpired. And that, for some might not think that was a victory, but that's a victory in itself, because you were able to tell your truth. You presented it. You made your case. All right. There wasn't enough evidence because of the time that elapsed. And if only there's always, if that witness who actually spoke up, that would be something that is credible. But people tend to shy away because they want to be removed from it. It's your words against mine, whatever their reasons are for not speaking. All right. But when
Well,
you do,
in my case, she was also a victim. So there's no judgment on my behalf that she didn't do
okay.
that. And I understand why she hasn't, and it's okay. So that's where I think we have to just be
Okay.
accepting of
So
what,
she didn't
what
confront
our,
her. She didn't yet deal with her
no,
past. Yeah,
no,
that
that's
makes it
right.
very hard.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
look, at the end of the day, the justice for me is that I've got a fabulous life. I've got a beautiful husband and two gorgeous children.
Hmm.
And I can't imagine living with the shame of perpetrating these horrible acts against a child. So I
Right.
think that's, to me, that's the karma. You've got to live with your own decisions, and I'm comfortable living with mine.
Right. Right. Wow. So what would you say to women that are still carrying, this hidden trauma, or unsure where to begin in their healing?
Well, I would always say that start with getting congruent with your narrative internally. So make sure that the voice that you're listening to is your own and your strength and your truth, and it's not dictated by someone else's actions. And I began by making sense of my feelings by writing. So I always had a journal. I write a lot of poetry, and it was through writing that helped me establish my next steps. So, absolutely go and speak to somebody. But I believe that really getting clear on what our internal voice is telling us is where the healing begins.
Right, an internal voice. Get in the front row seat of your life. I have, through the years, seen individuals who carried it 60, 70 years. And when they finally told their truth, it was like, why did I wait so long? This is so
Mhm.
liberating. Why did I carry this weight? For some, they actually waited until the perpetrator was no more before they could even voice it, because the fear was still there. So, I want to say this, and to everyone that is watching, don't tell someone who's dealt with such trauma to tell them to get over it. There's no such thing as getting over it. It's a scar, okay? And it's a permanent scar. All right, it's just like a tattoo. You can't go and undo that tattoo. That scar is there. So getting over it is you saying it in your word, but it takes a lot to heal and to talk about it. And sometimes some of the people who saying get over it are actually people who themselves have been victimized, but that's their rebuttal. I guess they don't want to talk about it, leave it alone. I don't want to bring up, old things, but yet they're hurting, right? You're hurting and you're bleeding. And believe it or not, your reactions to everything that you're doing in life are stemming from, okay, that place of hurt, whether you want to, receive that truth or not. Okay. it is. The way you react with people, the walls that you put up, everything that you do, whatever you call your defense mechanism is actually doing more damage than good. All right. So let's go right back to your book here. And how do you see your book and your voice reshaping women, people, as they read this story of your journey here?
Well, I wrote this to minimize the loneliness that individuals feel in their own story and to share the challenges that I faced in a truthful, honest way so that people understand, that it isn't, healing's not a straight line, it's not linear. And there is parts of my story that are really heartbreaking, but it's not uncommon. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because until we start making this a conversation we're willing to have, then the shame will silence the people that need to speak up and will empower those that should not have a voice. So I wanted to enable survivors to have an opportunity to feel less lonely, and also allies and supporters of those survivors to have a resource that will help them understand their loved one and what they're going through.
Wow. So you heard it here on Emerge and Empower, and you'll be able to connect with Kate through the link that's in the bio. Where can they find your book?
It's on Amazon in America, so they can find it there, or Apple Books or Spotify if they want to go and hear the Audible version. It's also on Kindle, so enjoy and reach out to me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and my website is www.bespeak.au, and so we can connect there.
And for those who are there in Australia, she's local. So if you're looking for someone for a speaking platform and you need someone to come in, or maybe just get the book and get a reading circle of women and just invite Kat over so that, she can continue with that journey, whether it's in your church groups, wherever you are. That's what I love about social media. You can reach people everywhere across the world, whether they're living with family members, those who are even homeless because of such situations. Believe it or not, there are people who are homeless because they had to leave the home because the perpetrator is in the home. So a lot of homeless people are not homeless because they don't have a job, they don't have a place, but they're with family, and that pain is at home. So they had to leave home as a safe haven, trying to get away from the perpetrator to stop a lot of this damage and pain that is happening into their lives. So I want to thank you so much, Kat, for coming here on Emerge and Empower today. She will not be a stranger. She will be a part of our next expose that will be coming out for She Emergence Experience. If you find Kat relatable, please reach out, inbox her here, reach out to those links that are in the bio, and let's continue the healing journey. Let us indeed heal for real. The time for healing is now, everyone, okay? The time is now. Stop putting it aside. Stop silencing it. That noise, even if you're quiet, it is louder than what you share. So allow yourself to heal, okay? Allow yourself to come about for these said changes on today. So Kat, thank you so much for coming on Emerge and Empower today. And don't be a stranger. We'll stay and connect, everyone. And thank you for joining us today. And until next time, Kat.
Thank you so much. Lovely to see you.
You too. Thank you so much. And bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, you can end. I will continue.
Okay, thanks, darling.
All right, everyone. So we just want to thank everyone that was watching. Like I said, the journey for individuals are continuous here, and the reach for Emerge and Empower is global. We are global. We are reaching across the ocean for miles and thousands of miles on continent to continent. So don't be a stranger. We have Ghana. We have Canada. We have people all across the world, and now we have Australia that are connecting here because women and men are hurting all around the world. Some similar scenarios that are happening. And let us indeed heal for real, everybody. That is the best thing that we can do for ourselves, is truly let go and let this journey to healing continue. Do you have a story to tell? Reach out to us on emergeandempower@gmail.com. Let's continue letting this platform be the voice for you. Until next time, everyone.
Remember when coffee was just coffee? A routine sip, part of the 2 billion cups consumed daily, enough to fill an Olympic swimming pool every 3 minutes. Same old flavor, same old routine. For centuries, 75% of coffee drinkers have settled for mediocrity, masking the taste with sugar, syrups, and overpriced add-ons. But what if coffee didn't just promise to be amazing? What if it actually was? Introducing Alive Coffee, the first coffee that tastes as good as it makes you feel. Meet the coffee that thinks beyond the cup. Bold, smooth, alive. Made from expertly roasted top-quality beans, Alive Coffee is smooth, rich, and shockingly delicious. Stop drinking May, start drinking Alive. The coffee that delivers just like the 90% who won't start their day without it. Alive Coffee. Wake up, take over. Feel alive.